What if the secret to eternal beauty was actually a poison in disguise? And what if the price for that beauty was a slow, agonizing death? This isn't a hypothetical. For one woman, it was reality. In the lavish and treacherous world of the 16th century French court, Diane de Poitiers was the most powerful woman in the nation. She was the king's confidant, his advisor, and his true love, shining brighter than the queen herself. Renowned for a beauty that seemed to defy time, she held on to her youth and influence with an iron will. But Diane had a secret, a daily ritual she believed was keeping her young. She was drinking liquid gold. This shimmering potion, an alchemist's dream of immortality, held a dark power, one that would ultimately seal her fate and reveal the deadly side of ambition. Before she was the king's obsession, Diane de Poitiers was born into the top tier of French nobility at the turn of the 16th century. She was given a stellar humanist education, studying rhetoric, Latin, Greek, finance, and law, subjects that gave her an intellect as sharp as her features. She was also a dedicated athlete, famous for her love of riding and swimming, and she maintained a disciplined lifestyle that became her trademark. At just 15, she married Louis de Breze, a man 39 years her senior, but a major player at court, and the grandson of a former king. This marriage threw her right into the heart of royal life, where she served as a lady-in-waiting to two different queens. But it was becoming a widow at 31 that truly set her on the path to power. Independent and wealthy, she returned to court not as a grieving widow, but as a force to be reckoned with. It was then she captured the heart of a boy who would one day be king. Prince Henry, the second son of King Francis I, was just a teenager when he fell head over heels for the sophisticated Diane, a woman nearly 20 years his senior. When the young princes, Henry and his brother, were sent to Spain as political hostages, it was Diane who gave the 7-year-old Henry a farewell kiss. When he returned 4 years later, a bond had been forged. He saw her as a guide and a source of affection in a cold, uncaring royal world. Their affair began shortly after his own political marriage to Catherine de' Medici, when Henry was 15 and Diane was 35. For the next 25 years, their relationship would define the French court. When Henry took the throne as King Henry II in 1547, Diane de Poitiers' power became nearly absolute. She was queen in everything but name, while the actual queen, Catherine de' Medici, was often pushed to the side and humiliated. Diane stood by the king's side as his most trusted advisor. Her influence was so immense that official royal documents were often signed with a unique, intertwined signature, Père Diane, merging their names into a single identity. Henry showered her with titles and gifts. He named her the Duchess of Valentinois and even gave her the crown jewels of France to wear, a privilege that should have belonged only to Catherine. Most famously, he gave her the magnificent Château de Chenonce, a stunning castle built over the River Cher that Catherine had desperately wanted for herself. The rivalry between the mistress and the queen became legendary. Catherine, the proud daughter of the powerful Medici family, had to endure the public spectacle of her husband's complete devotion to another woman. The court became a stage for their silent war, where every jewel, property, and royal honor was a strategic move in their lifelong power struggle. But in a strange twist, the two women formed an uneasy alliance when it mattered most. For the first 10 years of their marriage, Henry and Catherine had no children, and talk of annulment was everywhere. Fearing a new queen might threaten her own standing, Diane reportedly encouraged Henry to perform his royal duties in the marital bed. This secured Catherine's position, and by extension her own. Catherine would go on to have 10 children, but the king's heart always belonged to Diane. One of the greatest sources of Diane's power was her incredible beauty. Even in her 50s and 60s, People at court wrote in awe of her youthful looks and flawless pale skin. In an age when life was often short and brutal, her ability to defy aging seemed almost supernatural. Part of her secret was discipline. She rose early, went on long horse rides, swam in cold rivers, and followed a strict diet. But there were whispers of a more unusual practice. Rumors swirled that Diane drank a special elixir to grant eternal youth. The main ingredient? Gold. In the 16th century, the line between science and magic was blurry. Alchemists believed that gold, a pure and incorruptible metal, held the key to health and long life. They prepared drinkable gold, often a solution of gold chloride mixed with other substances. They thought that by drinking the metal's essence, a person could absorb its perfect qualities and stop the aging process. For a woman whose power was so tied to her beauty and her hold on a younger king, the allure of such a promise must have been irresistible. She drank her golden elixir regularly, believing it was the key to her timeless appeal, not knowing she was slowly swallowing a beautiful, shimmering poison. This quest for beauty had a dark side, one that modern science would uncover in horrifying detail. Before we reveal the deadly secret hidden in her bones, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss more stories about the hidden histories of the rich and powerful. And let us know in the comments, what's the most bizarre beauty secret you've ever heard of? For centuries, the story of Diane drinking gold was just a rumor. But in 2008, French scientists got permission to examine her remains. Her original tomb had been destroyed during the French Revolution and her body thrown into a pit, but her bones were later recovered. What they found was stunning. Forensic analysis of her hair and bone fragments revealed extraordinarily high concentrations of gold. One report noted the levels in her hair were 500 times greater than in a preserved lock from her youth. The alchemist's promise was a lie. Ingesting gold doesn't preserve youth. It destroys the body from the inside. Chronic gold poisoning is known to cause anemia, kidney failure, fragile bones, and thinning hair. The very elixir Diane used to maintain her legendary pale complexion was likely causing it by inducing anemia. The potion that was meant to keep her strong was instead making her bones brittle and her body weak. Her case was an extreme example of a wider, dangerous trend. Renaissance nobility often used hazardous materials to achieve beauty. Lead-based cosmetics made skin white while causing nerve damage, and mercury was used in various treatments despite its known toxicity. Diane's quest for immortality was part of a culture that blindly mixed superstition with vanity, often with fatal results. Her shimmering secret was, in fact, a slow-acting poison. Diane's reign came to a sudden, brutal end on June 30th, 1559. During a jousting tournament celebrating his daughter's wedding, King Henry II suffered a horrific injury. A sliver from his opponent's lance shattered, pierced his helmet, and lodged in his brain. For 11 agonizing days, the king lay dying, repeatedly calling out for Diane. But Catherine de' Medici, now in control, refused to let her see him. After more than 2 decades of public humiliation, the Queen's moment for revenge had finally arrived. She barred her rival from the king's deathbed, asserting her authority in the final, dramatic moments of their love story. As soon as Henry was dead, Catherine moved swiftly. Diane was banished from court. She was forced to return the crown jewels and, in the ultimate act of retribution, she had to surrender her beloved Château de Chenonceau in exchange for the less impressive Château de Chaumont. Stripped of her power and influence, Diane de Poitiers retreated to her remaining estate at Annette. She lived out her final years in comfort but complete obscurity, a virtual exile from the world she had once dominated. In 1565, she fell from a horse, an accident likely made far worse by the gold-induced fragility of her bones. She never fully recovered and died the following year at the age of 66. Diane de Poitiers' life was a masterclass in power, ambition, and survival. She rose from the nobility to become the Shadow Queen of France, a patron of the arts, and a political force who held the unwavering love of a king. But her story is also a haunting cautionary tale. In her desperate race against time, she fell victim to the very thing she thought would save her. Her obsession with beauty, fueled by the dangerous pseudoscience of her day, ultimately contributed to her decline. She secured her place in history, not as an immortal goddess, but as a brilliant, complex woman who flew dangerously close to the sun. Her story is a chilling reminder that the search for eternal youth can lead down the darkest of paths, and that some beauty secrets are poisons in disguise. It makes you wonder, what other deadly rituals are buried with the kings and queens of the past?